Hello, everybody. Welcome to another live stream with me, Lara Ryan from Complete Test Success. Today, we are doing a live essay correction. So late last week, I posted a task 2 question on my YouTube channel and on my Facebook page. And I asked you guys to submit your own essays in response to that question. So there were only 2 people who submitted. So what I'll be doing today is just choosing one of those people at random and giving them a full essay correction. And this is much what I would do with the students who use my essay correction service and the essay corrections I would provide to the students on my course. So basically, we'll choose the essay and go through all the vocab, all the grammar mistakes, correcting everything along the way. I'll be giving scores for task response, coherence and cohesion, vocab and grammar, explaining those scores, and providing some advice for the student, for whoever wins the essay correction, providing them with advice as to what would be the main things they need to focus on to improve their scores in the least time possible. For those of you who have joined me live, please feel free to ask any questions you have as we're going through the essay. If there's anything that you want to talk about in terms of, why am I giving it that score, or, I thought that you would be doing this or that, whatever questions you have, just jump in. I'll be checking in the comments for questions as we go along. Okay, so these are the 2 students. We have Madeline, who's actually a student on my course, and we have Abdul. So we'll just choose one of these 2 at random, and then I'll get the essay ready. And Madeline is the winner. So you'll just have to give me a moment to copy and paste that and get myself ready. So just give me 1 second. Well done, Madeline. Okay, so looking at this initially, 389 words. So straight away, that looks very long. So typically speaking, I would recommend when you're writing a task 2 essay that you would aim for somewhere about 280 words. The problem with longer essays is they are often, they take too much time. That's kind of the big issue. You don't need to write such a long essay to get a good score. And like I said, it just takes a long time to write that length of an essay. So if you're writing 300 and whatever that was, 80 words or so, there isn't time to check your vocab and grammar mistakes at the end. To try and get all of that done in 40 minutes, make sure that what you're saying is appropriate and checking for your mistakes and making sure it's the highest quality answer you can write in 40 minutes. Going anything over 300 isn't really advisable. So that would be my first piece of advice for Madeline based on that. Okay. So here's the question for that Madeline answered. Some people believe that children should be raised by their parents alone, while others think that the involvement of extended family members is important. Discuss both views and give your own opinion. Now, I like to leave lines between each paragraph because sometimes when you have a situation like this, where there's some space between the end of the sentence and the edge of the page, that's okay. It's kind of clear to see where each one starts and ends. But on the rare occasion where the sentence goes right up to the edge of the page, it can be a little bit challenging to see the start and end of each paragraph. Okay. That introduction is very long. I think that's probably the majority of when we said it's too long. That's 106 words. I mean, that's how long your body paragraph would be. And then the body paragraph here is only 63 words. And then this one is way too long again. So you would aim, so that's 150. You'd aim to write about 100 words in each body paragraph. And then the conclusion and the introduction. The conclusion doesn't look too long, a little bit long, but that introduction looks way too long. So that would be my initial concern, just kind of the organization, how many words have been put into each part of the essay. It's going to make it more challenging to get a high score. Right, so off we go. So the question: some people believe that children should be raised by their parents alone, while others think that the involvement of extended family members is important. Okay, so first, Madeline needs to paraphrase that question. Some individuals feel that children must be brought up by their parents only. I would change must to should, because it's more of an opinion. It's not, you know, when we change should to must, there's some reason why it's not possible to do it the other way. It doesn't sound like advice or an opinion anymore. So should is more appropriate. Some individuals, my apologies, I'm not sure what's after happening there. Okay, some individuals some individuals feel that children should be brought up by their parents only. Now, the only is in the wrong place. By only their parents. So that's a syntax problem. Whereas others believe that it is vital for other extended family members to be involved as well. Okay, so that's very clear. It clearly communicates that idea without changing the meaning. So that's a successful paraphrase. Okay. Those who think that only parents who think that only parents should raise their kids understand. Now, kids is an informal word. Now, I know you're trying to paraphrase children, but because kids is informal, we cannot use that in our essay. Right. Those who think that only parents should raise their children understand that parents are the only people who can love their children unconditionally. And the other group understands that children need more people around them so as to find one they can confide in case of conflict with their parents. Okay. So one wouldn't quite work there. We'd have to change it to someone. So as to find someone they can confide in. Okay. Because you're not going more people and then one is referring to more people. So it doesn't work. So we just have to say someone they can confide in case of conflict with their parents. Okay. My opinion is that the involvement of other family members in a child's life provides them with a strong support system should their parents die. Okay, support network, I would say, support network. Okay, what I would say is the reason this has become so long, and this is advice that Madeline got from me, so this is likely my fault. The reason that this is so long is that by putting in the ideas, you have to kind of repeat each view to make it clear which view you're talking about. I like to put the main ideas in the introduction. I think it's a good way to kind of show a deep connection between the paragraphs, especially for higher coherence and cohesion scores. But the most important thing is the opinion. So we could replace all of that by just saying, my opinion is that the involvement of other family members in a child's life is important. And that would be it. So all the stuff that I've highlighted here, we could just replace with that basic opinion. And that I think would be better. Okay. Hey, Patience. Good to see you here. Patience is another one of my course members. Okay. So if anyone has any questions, please feel free to jump in. I just need to check something briefly before we move on to the first body paragraph. Okay, so what I would recommend then is in body paragraph 1, we would talk about whatever the first idea was in the introduction. So those who think only parents should raise their children understand that their parents are the only people who can love their children unconditionally. So this should be the idea developed down here. Okay. Now, actually, do you know what? Earlier on, I was saying that we need to put a line between each paragraph. I think that's what's happened here. I think that is the end of a paragraph. So these actually look like pretty good length. We have 3 body paragraphs. Each one should be about 70 words. So that one's 75. That one's 75. And that one's 63. Yeah, so all about 70 words. So that's actually pretty good. So a lot of so first of all, putting a line between each paragraph makes it much clearer. And secondly, there are three ideas, so 3 body paragraphs and about 70 words in each one. So that's actually quite good. So when we said the essay is far too long, so far it just seems that by putting the main ideas into the introduction, that has added far more than we need. So that there is 77 words. So that's the majority of where that's the main reason why the essay became longer than it needed to be. Okay, so back to this one. We're talking about unconditional love as the main idea for the first view. Some people think that parents should be their only children's caretakers. Should be the only caretakers for their children or of their children. Should be, let's say, the only caretakers for their children. Because other family members like aunts or uncles do not love their kids. Again, that's informal. We talked about that already. Do not love their children enough not to hurt them, which is why most of the child molestation cases are from trusted family members whom the child has built some trust in. Hence, others are against the idea of co-parenting with extended family members. Okay. So that's not the idea you said you were going to discuss. So in your introduction, you said that parents are the only ones who can love their children unconditionally. And then in your body paragraph, you talked about safety concerns related to extended family members being involved in raising the children. So that's not the same idea. So this is probably the biggest mistake we've seen so far, is that you said you were going to talk about one thing and then you talked about something else. Why would that happen? Perhaps you had planned your essay, and then kind of when you were halfway through writing the essay, you decided to change your plan, that you decided that you weren't going to use that first idea and you're going to write about a different idea. The idea you wrote about was perfect. It was relevant. It was specific. It was developed okay, appropriately, but you needed to go back to the introduction and say what it was you were going to talk about, or change what it was you said you were going to talk about. Hi, Abdul. There are conflicting views regarding whether children should be raised only by their parents. Okay. Yeah, so we're normally in the live streams, I get you guys to participate and we write the essay together and I give you all feedback, but we're just doing one essay correction today based on the essay submitted by a student in a comment from a post I made late last week. But we will be doing other live streams where we'll all be getting involved as well, Abdul, just not this one here today. Okay, but Abdul, if you do have any questions, please go ahead. All right, so in the introduction then, the other idea was that, or the second idea was that the children will have someone to confide in if they have conflict with their parents. Okay. However, others are of the view that it is, we don't need a comma there, that it is beneficial to get other family members involved in a child's life. So we need an apostrophe there, because it gives them more people to depend on when they feel disappointed by their parents. Disappointed by their parents. What did you say earlier on? Oh, maybe when they're arguing with their parents. Because what did you say the first time? When there's conflict, in case of conflict. So I just want to be consistent again. When they are arguing, maybe are arguing with their parents. Some children end up committing suicide when they have no one to share their feelings with during times of conflict. So it's going to happen more than once during times of conflict with their parents. Therefore, children need other people to share their feelings with other than their parents. Now, when you repeat your idea, that doesn't count as development. So basically you said children need other people to share their feelings with. Here's why they need people to share their feelings with. That's why they need people to share their feelings with. That's not okay. So repeating your idea is not the same as developing your idea. So that much of the development doesn't count. And what we're left with then is this much of the essay. So you've introduced the idea and you said what it was. So that brings us to about 60 words. So just keep that in mind. Repeating the idea is not the same thing as developing it. Developing it is telling me, how this means that it's better for other people to be involved, or why this means other people should be involved, or examples of, this benefit of other people being involved. So that's important as well. Okay. So that bit of development doesn't count. Okay. So that brings us to the third body paragraph based on your opinion. So this time you said they'll have a strong support network should their parents die. Okay. I strongly believe that kids, again, we said kids is informal, so we'll change it there. I might as well go back and change it up here as well. There was another example of it earlier. I can't find it. Anyway, I strongly believe that children need other people who will help them move on with life should their primary caregivers are gone. So you said should their primary, so should they are, should they be gone? I mean, you said die earlier on. I think that's much more direct. Should they die? I'm going to just use that same again. So the structure grammatically it's wrong because you said should they are, which you can't. It's should they be, but should they be gone doesn't really mean die. So I'm just going to change it to that. Children who are raised by other family members do not fail to adapt and move on when their parents pass on because they already have the support they need from the extended family members. For example, I was raised by my aunt when I lost my parents when I was 11 years old. Okay. Yep. So that's all suitable. Okay. So that brings us to the conclusion. In conclusion, some people believe that only parents should be involved in their child's or maybe in their children's lives. So let me just change that in there so that we're talking about, the parents, their children, and we'll have plurals, their children's lives, because they have a strong bond. That's not really what you said, though. In the introduction, you said it's unconditional love. In the body paragraph, you're talking about it's safer. And now down here, you're saying they have a strong bond. So quite inconsistent with that one idea from introduction to body paragraph to conclusion. How that happened or why that happened, I can only imagine you had planned your essay and you didn't follow the plan. Maybe you didn't plan the essay at all. I feel like you did because the other paragraphs are so well organized. While others think that including extended family members is crucial because it gives a child more people to rely on. And we need another comma here. And my opinion is that raising a child should not be the parent's responsibility, should not be only the parent's responsibility. but every family member should be involved because children need them when the inevitable happens. I'm going to change that because it's with the inevitable, but it's not inevitable that a child's parents would pass when they're still a child. So that's like inevitable that someone's going to die. Yeah, definitely. We could say it in that context, but it's not inevitable that a parent would die while their child is still a child. So involved because children need them when maybe in case their parents pass, like that. Okay. Okay, so overall this is very good. So it's task response band 8. There was this one paragraph where you repeated the idea as part of the development, and that doesn't count, but it is well developed enough beyond like with what you had there already. So task response is a band 8. So that's the first score. That's obviously very, very impressive. Before I give the rest of the scores, let me have a quick look at the comments here. Hey, Ty. Hello, sir. I would like to know if you would recommend 5-paragraph structure like this one or 4-paragraph structure, and what's the difference? There are many different structures that are acceptable. I like this 5-paragraph structure because then you're fully developing your idea. There are other structures where you just put your opinion in the introduction, the conclusion. There are other structures where you would comment on the 2 views within the body paragraphs about those views. So yeah, 5 or 4, as long as it's responding appropriately to the question, it doesn't really matter which one you use. I mean, just follow whatever teacher you like. And don't worry too much. If you're using a reliable teacher and they show you one way to do it, and then you're looking at another teacher showing you another way to do it, you don't really need to worry about it. If your original teacher is reliable, then just stick with what structures they've given you. If you look at multiple teachers, they'll show you multiple ways of doing it, and it gets confusing. So just choose the teacher you like, or choose the structure you like, and just stick with that. Patience, sir, please, is this example not too personal and should be more directed to a group of people? You can use personal examples in the IELTS test. So it literally says you can use examples from your own knowledge or experience. Hang on, I'll show you. Let me just take a quick screenshot and I'll show you what the full question looks like. Okay, I'm just highlighting it down here. It doesn't look fantastic, but you should be able to see it at least. So here's what the full question would look like. And the bit that I've highlighted in yellow, include any relevant examples from your own knowledge or experience. Now, where a lot of people get confused with that is that, typically speaking, with academic writing, you're not supposed to use personal examples. And the IELTS essay is an academic essay, but they allow you to use personal examples. So there is confusion. Some students and some candidates get confused about that because, yes, it's an academic essay where typically you would not be allowed. But as you can see right there on the question, it says include any relevant examples from your own knowledge or experience. So they're literally saying you can do that. So yeah, it's no problem whatsoever to do that. Okay, so coherence and cohesion. We had one mistake there with that someone, so that referencing mistake there, another pronoun mistake here, there, and yeah, I mean, that's it. Their children, again, another pronoun mistake. So it seems like the mistakes are often with that possessive pronoun there, and that one mistake with someone. So we'd get a band 7, but a good strong band 7. That's not far from a band 8, but just those few mistakes would prevent it from getting an 8. Vocabulary, so lexical resource, We had the informal word kids instead of children, and that came up, I think, 3 times or 4 times. Not too big a deal, to be honest. And then few little mistakes like support system instead of support network. Core parenting instead of co-parenting is just a spelling mistake. Oh, my apologies. I'm after forgetting about that kind of inconsistency between the ideas in the introduction. What you said your first idea was in the introduction, then what you said it was in your body paragraph, and then what you said it was in your conclusion. Those were inconsistent. So let me take a quick look at the band descriptors now. Let me just see how that would... I think that's going to bring us down to a band 6. Information and ideas are generally arranged coherently, but then for 7, it's information and ideas are logically organized and there's clear progression throughout the response. So that's going to pull it down to a 6. So it's going to be 6 for coherence and cohesion. I forgot about that. Apologies for that. And then the pronoun mistakes that we were looking at, obviously, would not have as big an impact. Okay, so for vocabulary, there's actually a really, really good range. So we had a few informal words, great collocations, very good range. Not trying to use ridiculously complicated words, reusing words as and when it's necessary. Words like parents, people, family, family members. You know, the reason I'm saying that is like a lot of students when they're writing their essays, what they'll do is they'll try to change every word. So like if they've used the word, or the word family was in the questions, they're like, okay, I'm not going to use the word family anymore. They'll try to change everything and they'll do everything they can think of to not use that word family again. And the problem then is they start using words that don't exist or don't have the same meaning, and they start changing them and making it more confusing. So even though you might look at it, like if we look at this essay and we say, okay, how many times is the word people used? We'll probably find that it's used quite a lot. People is used 9 times. Family is used 11 times. But that's okay. Like if you're writing an essay about family, we would expect you to use the word family a lot. Sometimes it's family, sometimes it's family members. That's not an issue. And a lot of people are scared of doing that. So this is actually really good. That's band 8 for lexical resource. And then for the grammar, that mistake with only, so that's kind of syntax where the word only is being put in the wrong place. But it's the same mistake that we've seen quite a few times throughout. Punctuation mistake. Those are pronoun mistakes that we saw earlier on. Spelling mistake, more punctuation mistakes, article, plural. That's the same only mistake. Again, we're not going to count that every time. More punctuation mistakes. Okay. So the majority of sentences are error-free and they're a good enough range of structures. So that's a band 8. Plurals and punctuation being the most common grammar mistakes. So Madeline, those would be the ones that you would want to focus on most. Having said that, 8 for task response, 6 for coherence and cohesion, 8 for vocab, 8 for grammar. So that then would come to, let me just check with my calculator. 7.5. Fantastic. Great essay. With your coherence and cohesion, whatever happened that your idea in the introduction seemed like a different idea in the body paragraph and seemed like a different idea in the thing. So unconditional love, the safety of the child, and strong bond, those are not the same thing. So that's probably the biggest issue in your essay. No harm on learning from those plural and punctuation mistakes as well. Take a look at those pronoun mistakes where you're using their incorrectly and one incorrectly. but overall really, really good. And then of course it would depend on how long it took you to write the essay. So, you know, I know Madeline is aiming for a band 7. So if Madeline, you know what, let me just double check that. Yeah, in writing is a band 7. So you're getting a 7.5 here. So obviously this is far better than your real, you need in the real test. So it depends on how long that took you. You know, if that took you more than 40 minutes, then definitely working on your time would be important. Trying to get it down to 40 minutes. If you've written that in 40 minutes, fantastic. It looks like you're ready for the test. But regardless of that, still work on that problem with your ideas being inconsistent in the different parts of the essay, misuse of the pronoun there, plural mistakes, and punctuation mistakes. So no harm on working on those. Patience, sir, my problem at the moment. You're trying so hard to change and use different words. Definitely. So patience, you're definitely experiencing that thing where you're afraid to use the word people a lot. You're afraid to use the word family a lot. You'll try to change everything too much, and you end up making mistakes that you wouldn't necessarily have made if you didn't force yourself into that situation. So I think this is probably a great example for you as well, where you can see, you know, reusing the same word many times, still getting a Band-Aid. You know, it's all the words between the range, the collocations, the accuracy, all of that adds up. And if you need to reuse a word multiple times, just go and use it. It's not the end of the world, and it doesn't have a big effect on your score. Is it hard to get a band 7 in writing? Yes, it is. It takes a lot of work for someone to get a band 7 in writing. Like I have a lot of students who will come to me and they'll say, like, you know, I got a band 5 in the IELTS writing test and I'm doing the test next week and I need band 7. It's like, I can't help a student in that situation. If you say to me, I got a band 5 in writing and I have a year or I have 6 months, or, you know, it would depend on the other scores you got as well, and I need a band 7, like, I don't mind working with someone who's starting at a low level and needs a high score. That's no problem. But when people are unrealistic, they think like, oh, it's easy. I'll just, you know, join the course and I'll be able to do it next week. It's not. Like the students on my courses, they work incredibly hard. And it's very, very frustrating where they're working hard. They submit another essay and they've made another mistake that they didn't know they were making. You know, it's hard work, and, you know, you need to be really, really motivated to stay going, because it's not easy. That's the truth. It's not easy. So, you know, for students who come along and they're going like, I want a band 7, I think it'll probably be easy. Those are the students who give up before they get their scores. But when the student comes in and goes like, this is going to be a lot of work, I realize that, and I'm willing to do the work. Those students, whether you're starting at 5 or 6.5, you will get the score you need when you have the right attitude towards it. Wow says patience. Yep, I agree, definitely. Can I use idiom like make ends meet in the essay? Yep, make ends meet is fine. Just don't use very old-fashioned idioms like, you know, it's raining cats and dogs, or, you know, that type of thing. You need to use normal everyday language that is used commonly in modern English. And if you're using idioms that are outdated, that's not a good approach. Okay, so that's everything. Well done, Madeline. That's a fantastic piece of writing there. If any of you guys have your IELTS test coming up soon, best of luck with that. If anyone needs one-on-one support, reach out. There's my email address. And yeah, be back next week. Take care of yourselves. Bye, everybody.